harvest, standardize, and apply the most of hard-earned tribal knowledge. resco.Houston enables companies to retain decades of knowledge, offer remote assistance, and collect crucial information. But first and foremost, it enhances workers' skills and confidence on the job. For this unique session, we've invited seasoned industry professionals to discuss knowledge-related challenges many companies face today. Let me pass the word to Josef Durha, our Business Development and Strategy Manager.
Hello everyone, my name is Josef and this is John. John is a great guy. As a technician, he's been working in the field service company for more than 5 years. He's very experienced, and you know what? John loves his job. Today is Thursday and the weekend is getting close. In the morning, John got up with the plan to visit 3 customers, to perform 2 maintenances and to repair 1 machine. Work orders were processed behind the scenes by automation. Even his routes were optimized to get everywhere just in time. Everything went perfectly. John is at the clients. Maintenance can be quite time-consuming, but John knows how to shorten the time. It is a pity that he keeps the know-how for himself and doesn't share it with others. The first maintenance was nicely done, so was the second one. He moved to the last job of the day. Based on the work order, it looked like a typical failure. However, the third machine was broken and needed to be diagnosed and repaired. John was confident that he knew what to do. A well-known scenario, setting up some parts, calibrating the sensors, and finally signing the service protocol. But the reality was different. The clock ticked minute by minute, and even after an hour of trying the usual procedures, nothing helped. The machine showed signs of strange behavior that John had never seen before. He tried his best, but nothing helped. He was getting out of his comfort zone. He left the building, sat in the car, put notebook on his knees and went through some PDFs, documents and web pages. He spent there about 20 minutes, but didn't find any helpful guide to follow. John has a problem, and he's getting nervous. Who to call? He called his best friend on the team and tried to explain what the problem was. After 15 minutes of talking, they still didn't understand each other. In the meanwhile, John ran out of time scheduled for the service. He left the customer and left the broken machine there. Sitting in the car, he thought to himself, what to enter into the system? What is the result of those 2 wasted hours? What is the status? Job not done. What a situation. John is frustrated and demotivated. The customer is left with a problem. The manager faces an unexpected task. One problem affects them all. After 3 days, they found out a possible technical solution. The same failure had already occurred several times on machines in other regions. So the manager created a new work order and scheduled another trip for John. What do you think? Will John succeed on the second attempt? Maybe yes, maybe no. He has to try. Did you know that when visiting a customer, technicians spend only about 30% of the time doing the actual job? And 70% time they spend on activities such as searching for solutions. John is a skilled technician. He will figure it out eventually. But with how many attempts? How much time wasted? Who pays the bill? This story is just a small reflection of what happens in field service companies every day. Can you imagine all those different problems that may arise? We invited a special guest to join us today to talk about the consequences of not having the relevant and valid knowledge at the job. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Sam Kleidman. He's been working in the world of maintenance and service for more than 30 years. He helps clients grow their businesses. Sam knows the real world in which technicians like John must work. Sam, the stage is yours.
Joseph, thank you very much for that nice introduction. Hello to everybody out here there. And let's talk for a second about our new friend John. John is at a customer site, failed to fix the problem the first time, had to go and spend 2 more days trying to do the research and thinks he now has it solved. That's really unusual for field service engineers. And unfortunately, the way things are today, I think that kind of an activity is going to become more and more common. And here's the reason. Today, people in all walks of life, at all ages, at all jobs, all professions, all countries, they're leaving their jobs in unbelievable numbers. And that's bad, but for us as business executives running businesses, it's really bad because when these guys leave, they're taking all their technical knowledge, all the customer knowledge, and worst of all, they're taking all their tribal knowledge. The things that happen behind the scenes that they know about subconsciously and don't think about, but it affects the way they do their job. So an example of tribal knowledge is if you're driving around in your town or your neighborhood and you see a backup on the street, you know where to take a turn off, go around some crazy streets, and eventually wind up where you want to go. That's the tribal knowledge. Now, today, tribal knowledge about driving has been codified by Waze, but the tribal knowledge that field service engineers possess and share has not been codified quite yet. So why are people leaving? Well, before we talk about that, let's talk about the trends that are accelerated by COVID and are affecting the workforce. First trend is what is called the silver tsunami. That's the gray-haired folks are leaving their jobs and leaving the workforce very early. The great resignation is everybody else who's thinking about and leaving their jobs. So the silver tsunami guys are saying, I've been working for 35, 40 years, I paid my dues, and now is a good time for me to get out of the rat race and enjoy my golden years. While the people who are younger and are thinking about leaving, they say, life's too short for me to stay in a job I don't like, at a company I don't like, with working with people I don't like, and certainly with customers I don't like. So I'm going to leave. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to leave. Businesses then are dealing with these issues differently. If they're the end users, a lot of businesses are switching to the philosophy of self-service. They want their own maintenance people and support people working on the problems, just so that they keep strangers out so they don't know if they're bringing in COVID or not. They respond quickly and those kinds of things. And we'll see how that affects everybody. And the last thing that the service companies are doing is they're going from a total direct employee service organization to what's called the blended workforce. And that's a term that not everybody's familiar with, but you will be in a few minutes. So let's say with the silver tsunami, hard to say. People are leaving. The problem is that people who are leaving are your most experienced people who possess the most tribal knowledge of anybody. That knowledge is undocumented, and they're leaving you in a lurch for one simple reason. They're the people that you would count on to help train new employees. They're gone. So you bring on new employees, and who do you have available that can train them effectively and efficiently? That's a problem. The issue with great resignation is a little interesting. So recently somebody did a survey and asked a bunch of folks, are you considering leaving your job? The highest percentage of people thinking about leaving their job are the Gen X's. Those are the youngest people in the workforce. They started in the workforce roughly around 2000, so Yeah, no, actually they were born around 2000, so they're about 20, 25 years old. And the next group, those two together are over half the workforce, and they're thinking seriously about leaving their jobs. The older employees, not so much, but they still are thinking about it. I know and you know that thinking about leaving your job and actually leaving your job are two different things. But thinking about it is certainly the first step, and nobody's going to leave without thinking about it. So those are the people you're going to lose most, the 30 to 45 group. When businesses talk about customer self-service, as I said, they're doing it because they think it's quicker, more efficient, those kind of things. It's better for your engineers because they don't get put in an environment where they don't know if people are sick, not tested, vaccine, whatever. But the people that are going to suffer the most are your technical support folks, because the end user maintenance people are not only supporting your equipment, but they're supporting everybody else's equipment in their company. So you think about, if you bring your car into the dealer where you bought it for maintenance, they can tell you it'll be done at 3:30, it'll be done at 3:30, car will be cleaned, and everything will be great. If you bring it into a local garage that services all cars, they're not quite as confident about how long it's going to take. It may cost you less, but it's kind of up in the air because they just don't know those cars as well as the dealers do. And that's what the tech support guys are going to face as time goes by. Then we have this concept of a blended workforce. This one is really interesting because it means that tech support will now be interfacing and supporting your service engineers, your customers' facilities people, maybe third-party engineers that are made up of their direct employees and maybe some gig workers who have retired, left the workforce and are just filling in because they need a couple of bucks. They may be gig workers who are working directly for you. They may be gig workers who are working directly for your customer. So it's a big mashup, and the only thing that they really have in common is they need access to organized knowledge, and they need it quickly and they need it well. So that's the fourth trend coming. The solution for all that is to hire for attitude, train for skills. In the old days, we went out and tried to find people that worked for our competitors, our end users, and we tried to hire them because we knew they knew the market, they knew the product, and all that. They're not leaving to come work for you. They're leaving to go out on a farm somewhere or go fishing. So you can't find them, so you have to find people that you believe have the capability of learning to support your product and doing a good job. They have the basic skills, the manual skills, the communication skills, and you have to train them about your product, your environment, and you have to keep training them. So when I was looking for service engineers, when I came up with this problem, I was very lucky. One of my product teams was built by a group of Air Force avionics maintenance people, and they had a tight network. And so when I needed another person for that group, I put out the word to them. They'd call their network, and I'd wind up with a qualified, good engineer in the location that I needed, with a backup support of people that will make sure that person doesn't fail. Today, I still believe that the military veterans that came from the avionics world, the nuclear navy, they are great people to hire, right attitude, and they're trainable. So when you start training and you start thinking about what do I really need to do to get these people up to speed. So recently the Service Council and a service management organization did a survey of about 750 field service engineers across the spectrum of industries, levels, and even geography. And one of the questions they were asked was, from this list, which was about that long and was full of statements, rate each statement as either you agree totally, you disagree totally, or you're not sure. The statement that got the greatest number of agrees, at 91% of the people, was that they require greater knowledge. That's their basic requirement. The second requirement that they had is they needed more technical skills. So you have to give them the knowledge, you have to give them the technical skills, and they stand a chance. Then the same survey had another question which showed a list of technology areas and asked people to vote on which of these are the most important. The number one response, 80% of the people said that what they need or want is on-demand video. The number two was the IoT, which is a much different solution and is, as they say in college, beyond the scope of the course. Number three was live video, the ability to interact with people remotely, just like you and I are interacting. We can see our movements, we could point, we can share documents. And those are the two things that really would make a difference that are controllable by the hiring organization. So, what's the challenge for the organization? Well, they've got to capture all this data and maintain it in a form that's current, that's accurate, and it's easy to locate. I mean, you can't have a database like Google has and expect a technician on site to do Google searches and open documents and say, yeah, that's not the one. You need a way to accurately provide that information. The other interesting thing is the information has to be appropriate for the user's skill level. And that's a big deal, and because you then have to know who you're talking to, where they come from, what's their background, and what's their skill level. And the last thing you need these folks to accept the system and really want to use it. And the way you do that is to have them participate in creating the data. So when they're on site, they could take videos on their smartphone and talk over and then send it into the data owner in their central location and put that on the platform and give credit to the engineers. So those are the kinds of things you need. And with that, I think I've said my piece. So thank you very much for listening. And next over to Karina.
Sam, thank you very much. What you said about silver tsunami was very interesting. It's a really big problem, and that's actually the reason why we focus on this, why we put efforts to create a solution. When these seniors leave with all the knowledge and expertise they have, it creates a huge unnecessary challenge for a company to maintain a quality of work and maintain happy employees and even happier customers. Hi everybody, my name is Karin, and I would like to go back to our John from the beginning because he has a problem, and I would like to help him to find a solution so he can love his job again. What you don't know is that we invited John to join us today, so I would like to say hi to him. John, it was a tough day when you visited that customer, right? You were so determined to find a solution and fix the machine, and yet you couldn't. It must have been very frustrating for you. In Resco, we notice your troubles and challenges, and I have a good news for you, John. We have a solution, and the solution is resco.Houston, a place where workers become experts, a place where you have all the expertise and knowledge in one place, always accessible, relevant, and up-to-date. Let's have a look at what resco.Houston is. Well, the official definition would be that it is a smart application for frontline connected workers. resco.Houston facilitates the right knowledge flow within an organization and helps reduce the knowledge gap of workers and therefore reduces the problem the lack of knowledge can cause. But let's break it down. What about those connected workers? Connected workers are always monitored, informed, and upskilled by smart devices and machines. They are integrated into their environment by connective technologies. To translate it into our story, John, you were not a connected worker when you visited your customer because you were alone. You didn't have the right tools to be able to solve the problem, and you were forced to leave the situation demotivated and leave your customer unhappy with the problem on his table. If you were a connected worker, John, you would be able to solve the problem with no issues, only using smart devices and technologies. You would be able to solve the problem right on the spot while learning something new and increasing your qualification. And that's our goal. We aim to capture, store, and share the company's tribal knowledge. Why do we do this? We want to help workers to succeed and solve, and most importantly, prevent issues. I mentioned before that resco.Houston facilitates the right knowledge flow within the organization. We need to be able to cover all situations where knowledge is missing. And to do this, just some database of documents is not enough because it represents only static knowledge. We need a dynamic one that is organized, standardized, and most importantly, valid and always up to date. The static knowledge can be represented by guides, PDFs, videos, and others. These are the big pieces, the core of company's knowledge. But they should always be supplemented with a dynamic one, which is represented by AR video calls, training, feedback, and other. Static and dynamic knowledge work best when they are together. Then the flow of information in the company brings the greatest value and it's most efficient. When starting with the knowledge flow, harvesting and capturing what we already have is the first thing to do. But don't worry, you don't have to collect everything at once. Just start with small pieces and gradually build a database of internal know-how. It's a really important step to collect what already exists because we want to standardize it, make it understandable and easy to use. We do this by creating guides, PDFs, videos, and other formats directly inside the app. Once we standardize this knowledge, it's ready to be applied. So what do? We share it and distribute it to employees. With this step, we are helping workers to be autonomous, and we are building their decision-making capabilities. But sometimes being autonomous is not enough. No one is perfect, and no one knows everything. Sometimes even the best of us need help. And most naturally, your coworkers are the first ones you reach out to. We want to support this collaboration by providing chat, newsfeed, and other functionalities directly inside the app. There are some situations when even your coworkers are not able to help, and that's absolutely okay. That's the reason why we have specialists, why we have experts. We are saving them for most complex issues. With resco.Houston, you can directly contact the expert via AR video call. With their live draw instructions and 3D objects added directly into the call, you can understand the issue and solve it right on the spot. From every unexpected situation you solve, by yourself or with the help of the expert, you learn something new. And you know how valuable this knowledge is and how it can help other coworkers in the future. So what do? You create a guide and capture this knowledge. When you harvest this knowledge, it will be standardized and shared within the organization. Other coworkers can use it, rate it, or send feedback. But first and foremost, they have something to turn to if they have ever encountered the same problem. The worker was able to be autonomous by using self-instructions. Then he reached out to the expert who guided him on repairing the machine via AR video call. Worker learned something new. He improved and even created a new guide. Then a knowledge manager standardized and distributed the guide to the rest of the team. They liked it. John, I believe if you had the same tools as the guy in the video, you would be able to solve the problem right there at the moment when you visited your customer. And that's not all. The future will even be more challenging than the present, so resco.Houston will never stop developing and evolving. We already have so much planned. Functionalities like feedback collection, video guides, localization into other languages, and much more. Having a connected worker is a great competitive advantage. It brings so many benefits that mentioning and discussing all of them would take us a whole day. Smart connected worker is always armed with right software, quality hardware, and valid knowledge. John, I truly believe you will never have the same problem as you did. With resco.Houston, you will be able to succeed every time, and that's why we are here.
Well, John loves his job again. But how about the customer? The customer has his priorities. He must deal with the challenges that are ahead. Let me name some of them that are coming in the very close future. preventive maintenance, autonomous maintenance, prolonged service intervals, remote service, no downtimes. Just imagine, tomorrow the customer will not pay the trips of technicians. Tomorrow the customer will not pay the hours of technicians. The customer will not pay the bills for unresolved issues. It all will be upside down, like this. The customer will pay monthly for guaranteed operation without interruption. The customer will invoice for penalties for downtimes. All this will result in fewer trips of technicians who will be skilled to a higher level and equipped with the relevant knowledge. What does this mean for us? Simply, technicians have to score. Always, every time. resco.Houston will help them to make it happen. We have a solution, and we will bring it to the market together with you, our dear partners. But where is the market? Who is resco.Houston for? It is for technicians who keep technical equipment and technology in optimal condition by service and maintenance, but also for those who work on it. For example, factory floor staff, operators and mechanics who control, adjust and set the machinery into operation. Also for the assembly workers in production that follow digital working instructions. We see our future users in the field service companies, in manufacturing industries, and in asset maintenance. They all need easy-to-follow information to get skilled instantly and to perform their jobs optimally. What is it in for you, our partners? You may think that extra work, sure, everything requires some effort. However, you can look forward to it. It's not rocket science. Customers are already asking for knowledge management software. You don't have to convince anyone too much. What benefits will you get for deploying resco.Houston? Just to mention some: competitive advantage from being among the first, extending your portfolio resulting in new customers, meeting the needs of your present customers, and even entering the very new industries. The customers are ready. Are you? Dear partners, join the rising resco.Houston community. We have prepared demos and all essential. Whether you would integrate resco.Houston or you would prefer a standalone, we will have it all. Book a demo now. It might be a small step for you, but it will be a big step for your customers.
All right, for our final Q&A, I'd like to welcome Zuzana, our product manager for resco.Houston. Welcome, Zuzana.
Thank you, Andrew.
Let's get to it. So the first question, I think, is a practical one, is how can we try Houston? Is there a trial version? How can our partners work with it?
Mm-hmm. You can definitely try Houston. You will not find a trial button on our website, but once you reach out to us, we will guide you through the product and we will create you a demo organization.
Mm-hmm. Great, okay. A nice question next is, why is Houston better than other similar solutions?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a loaded question. But
yeah. I think there are many reasons, but I will mention 4 main ones. The first one is strong offline, then really a unique combination of the AR calls plus the knowledge management. The third reason is simplicity. Simplicity in using of the application and in finding the relevant information, which we believe is really crucial for the increased adoption rate across different age groups. And the last reason I will mention is the knowledge harvesting, which is basically capturing of the undocumented processes, non-existing knowledge for the sake of what we call continuous improvement.
Nice. Great answer. Great answer. Let's go to the next question from Jens. What are supported devices for Houston? Is there a roadmap for devices?
We currently support the mobile devices on iOS and Android, but for the 2022 roadmap, we are planning on having Houston on RealWear, because as we know, AR calls and the step-by-step visual instructions are really one of the 2 most frequent use cases on RealWear, and Houston has both, so it really makes sense.
Does the expert answering the AR calls need to be behind a computer, or how does it look from the expert side of things?
He doesn't necessarily have to. He can answer the AR call from a mobile device if he has a mobile user role assigned.
What is the price for Houston? A good question.
It is. We currently approach pricing individually, so it's based on the size of the opportunity, on the number of users, user roles. Also, the AR calls need to be taken into consideration, and also the client scenario and industry, whether it's manufacturing, field service, asset maintenance, and so on.
Okay.
But we are ready to prepare you pricing per your request.
Great. And it looks like we have one final question is, does the application work fully offline?
Yeah, Resco Houston application is based on the mobile CRM app, so it works fully offline, but obviously apart from the AR calls.
Great. Okay, so that is our questions for the Houston session. Thank you everyone for your questions throughout the event today. If we didn't manage to get to your questions, we're going to follow up over email or in other communication methods. So thanks again for the great questions.